Box of Finding Wholesomeness. Today we're just going to be looking at the good old classic story of David and Goliath. You've probably heard this story at least once in your life, and for those of you who haven't, I'm just going to make a long story short. The Philistine army sent out one of its mightiest warriors named Goliath, and he challenged the Israelite army, and every day he'd come out and he'd tell them to, hey, send one man to face me. Basically, if the Israelite army lost, then they would become slaves to the Philistines, and vice versa. If the Israelites won, then the Philistine army would become slaves to Israel. And the Philistines, they knew this, and they knew that, Goliath's like a huge guy. He's like 8 to 10 feet tall, and he's a super experienced warrior. He's probably super buff, and everybody was afraid to face him, and they knew that they had the victory in their hands. Or at least that's what they thought. Our main character, David, he was the youngest. His brothers were in the army, so he was delivering food to them. And while he was at the camp, he heard about Goliath and how he was challenging the Israelites. So he stepped up and said, I will go and defeat this Philistine, because he knew that God was with him. He had a slingshot, and he picked up 3 stones from the river. He approached Goliath and took out the slingshot, and by the power of God, he managed to hit Goliath in the forehead, and this again, by the power of God, knocked Goliath out, which allowed David enough time to cut off Goliath's head with his own sword. Not necessarily a children's story, but it's definitely a story, and it's a really quick version, but I do encourage you to read the full version in 1 Samuel chapter 17. And a lot of speakers and pastors will approach this story as an underdog story. Goliath was big, David was small, and he still won because God was with him, which is actually true. But today we're just going to be looking at a different part of the story. I want to start right in the middle, where David's father Jesse is telling him what he needs to do. So on Jesse's checklist, he said, okay, David, I need you to give food to your brothers. I need you to see how they're getting along, and I need you to come back to me with a report and tell me what's going on. And with that instruction, David went over to the camp. David took the food to his brothers, and he talked to some people at the camp a little bit, and then he proceeded to defeat Goliath. Jesse never told David to fight the Philistine whatsoever. He never even suggested it. He just said, deliver food, come home. And that was it. But if he had listened to Jesse and his brothers when they told him to go home, then he would never have defeated Goliath, and perhaps Israel would have lost the fight that day. And my point with this is that if something is right, sometimes you have to take the first step and do it. God gave victory into the hands of David that day, not because it was David's job to defeat Goliath. God didn't tell David to go and defeat the Philistine. Nobody else told him to go and do that. That's not his job. But David just went out and made it his job, and he did it anyway. But it was because that David stepped up in faith, and he said that God can take him down. Here's the thing. While his brothers were in the army doing important stuff, he was stuck at home caring for his dad's sheep. And this seemingly worthless task helped him understand God. And throughout his experience as a shepherd, he had to protect his sheep from predators. And he said, if God can protect me from the small things like wolves and bears and stuff, then if God can protect him from the little things, then God will protect him from the big things. And that's the same for us. That's why giants come our way, because he wants you to tackle something bigger than yourself so that he can help you. Because there would have been no way that David could have defeated Goliath on his own if God had not been with him that day. But my big takeaway here is that God wants us to try. And because, who knows, perhaps you were put here at this time, in this place, just as David was, called to defeat something bigger than yourself. And that's all I got for today. I want to thank you for watching this video. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole journey. And have a great week, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.